Hello, my name is Janice Palma. I am an English-Spanish Judiciary interpreter, certified by NAJIT, certified by the U.S. courts, and I'm also a Texas Master License interpreter for English and Spanish. Let's get started. You want to know what you need to do to become a judiciary interpreter. So I hope that I can give you a few pointers here to help you get started. Now, the foundation, hopefully, is to have an advanced degree in interpreting that includes courses in legal language, court proceedings, and ethics. Or maybe you took an exam and obtained a professional credential from either a state or federal court. If you want to learn more about credentials for judiciary interpreters in either state or federal courts, please see the NAJIT video, How Do I Become a Certified Interpreter, right here in this YouTube channel. But if you're just wanting to learn how to get started, whether or not you have a degree or a professional credential, you've come to the right place. I will give you an overview of what you need to know so you can get started. First, you should be familiar with the differences between state and federal courts. So let's review some of those. Each state has its own laws and ways of naming and defining different crimes. They are not necessarily the same in all states, so you need to study the terminology applicable to the state where you will be practicing. Likewise, court systems and procedures are different in each state. Visit your local courts and observe before you attempt to work in one. Learn the protocols followed by court personnel because that is the protocol you need to follow yourself. Some states will have unified court systems, which essentially means that the state's resources allocated to the courts are consolidated and centralized. Where court systems are not unified, the allocation of resources are localized. The federal court system consists of 94 district courts, 13 circuit courts of appeal, and 1 Supreme Court. Federal district courts are known as courts of limited jurisdiction because they can only hear cases authorized by federal statutes or the U.S. Constitution. Cases from district courts can be appealed to the circuit courts, but decisions by the appeal courts in each circuit are binding only on the trial courts within that circuit and only advisory for all other courts. Circuit court decisions can be appealed to the Supreme Court by filing a writ of certiorari. Only 1% of those are actually granted. Now, where will you work? If you decide you want to work for the courts, you should prepare to get the proper credentials to work for the state or the federal court system. That means taking a test that will let the courts know you are qualified to provide the services they need. Once more, if you want to learn more about the credentials for judiciary interpreters in state and federal courts, please see the NAJIT video, How Do I Become a Certified Interpreter, right here in this YouTube channel. Now, you can provide your professional services to the courts as a member of their permanent staff or as an independent contractor. Be aware, however, that there are very few staff positions available for interpreters compared with the number of practitioners in the field. Every court will have its own hiring practices, working conditions, and pay scales. Federal courts have a designated range of grade levels and pay scales for staff interpreters and a standard contract for contract interpreters that is applied equally in every court around the country. That will not be the case with state courts. Each state will have its own salary scales for staff and per diem fees for contract interpreters. You will need to research the state where you want to work to see what their current pay scales and working conditions are. Of course, you might decide you want to work for your own private clients, like law firms, corporations, or government agencies. In that case, you will set your own professional fee scale. Rather than working in a full-time staff position, most judiciary interpreters will end up working as independent contractors. However, being a good interpreter does not mean you can also be a good business owner and manager. Knowing how to set up and keep up a business is a separate skill altogether. Maybe you have a very good business sense, and maybe you will even be able to subcontract other interpreters eventually as your workload increases. But if owning and managing a business is not your cup of tea, you could consider partnering up with colleagues and pooling your talents. A few words of advice if you decide to go down that road. Do not undercut your competition. If you start to set your fees lower than your colleagues just to get some work, the message you will be sending to your clients is that your work is inferior. You will also alienate your colleagues, and in the end, you will have a very difficult time changing that image of a lower quality interpreter in your client's mind. Plus, you should know that there is a domino effect when novice interpreters lower their fees to get work. It is a far-reaching and generally harmful effect on the profession as a whole on many levels. Now, every market is different. If you're not sure what to charge in your market, do not fly solo until you do. You can go work for an agency that provides interpreting services in your community. Whatever they pay you, add anywhere between 20 and 50%. That's probably what they are charging their clients. Take that as your point of reference to set your fees for private sector clients when you feel you are ready to work on your own. Now, what to include in your invoice? Every interpreter will have to prepare an invoice sooner or later if they are going to work on their own, whether it's for the courts or for their own private clients. Courts often have their own forms where you can just fill in the blanks, turn them in, and get paid. Private clients, however, will require that you send them an invoice that you create before you can get paid. Fortunately, there are lots of software programs that can help you with that, but here are some of the basic fields you will need on that invoice depending on the services you provide. Type of service. Are you providing simultaneous, consecutive, or a combination of those interpreting modes? Type of proceeding. Were you at a deposition, a trial, a hearing? Dates and times of service. Identify your start time, which is the time when you were told to be there, not the time when they started, and the end time if you are charging by the hour. Then tally the total number of hours. If you are charging by the day or half day, you do not need to tally the number of hours. Identify your charging unit then. Are you charging by the day or by the hour or by the half day, and how much? Is there any overtime? Are you charging more for that? And when does overtime start? And then the total amount for all your interpreting services. Equipment. If you're charging for equipment rental, you should have signed a work contract in which you stipulated details like that. Parking, mileage, tolls, and other transportation expenses, door to door, which is often charged if you are commuting over 30 miles from your home to your place of work. That should also be stipulated in a work contract. Meals, if you're going to be charging for meals. Overnight stays, if you're going to be charging for that, all of that should be stipulated in a work contract. What if you did not sign a contract? Well, if you decided to work as an independent contractor, then one way or another, this is your business. And there is a good chance you will be dealing with lawyers who may not always pay you because their clients did not pay them, and they will come up with all kinds of excuses not to pay you. You need to protect yourself, or at least try to. So add this little clause to your contract after you have set forth all the other conditions. Payment of this invoice is not contingent upon client's receipt of third-party payments. We know there's a lot to learn when you're just getting started, So please visit the resources section of the NAGIT website and take a look at the FAQ section in particular. If you still have questions, we will be very happy to provide you with as much guidance and support as you need to get you going on the right track. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to click on the like icon below and write in the comments if you have any suggestions for videos you'd like to see on the NAGIT YouTube channel.